Welcome back, YouTube family. It's your main man, MoneybaggCoo, back at you with another hot TikTok reaction video. Y'all don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to see more videos just like this. Let's get it, baby. It's Friday.
You heard of Skinwalker Ranch? There are places around the world that are stranger. Michael Brown here. One of them was about an hour east of Phoenix, called Stardust Ranch. Similar in a lot of ways, UFO reports, many of those, endless strange creatures, whether or not they're kind of werewolfish or Bigfoot or whatever. And poltergeist, strange noises, rappings, poundings. Before this one couple moved in, John and Joyce. John was a psychologist, retired. His wife worked for the FBI, still did. They moved in this place, and when they went there, they opened a door, and the previous owner's belongings were all still there. All the furniture was still there. He called up the realtor and said, "Hey, what's going on here? Their furniture's still in the house. It's got to be taken out of here." The realtor said, "I'll take care of it." So he and his wife went away for the day. When they came back, the furniture was gone, but they found that it had been placed in the swimming pool, even the refrigerator. Everything was in a swimming pool. Called the realtor. Realtor said, "Gee, I didn't even get in touch with the owner yet." That was just the beginning of it. Guys who worked for the phone company wouldn't even come on to the ranch to do their work because I guess the place had a history. And right away, they started hearing noises at night, bangings, things would move, objects would disappear. They'd wake up with strange markings on them, bruises, cuts, I think burns.
John Edmonds was born in April of 1959. In Phoenix, he met a woman named Joyce, and the two of them got married, and he and Joyce really wanted to buy a ranch because they wanted to raise horses, and their realtor was able to find them what seemed to be their dream property. This dream property was a 9.67 acre ranch on Tut Hill Road with a spacious 5-bedroom, 3-bath house that was perfect for entertaining. John paid cash for it, and he and Joyce signed the contract. They got the keys and they began their move-in. Things did not turn out so well, as they were shocked to find that the old owners had left everything inside, including furniture, TVs, kitchen supplies. So John calls up his realtor. He's pissed off. He's like, "What's the deal? I thought they were going to clear all this stuff out." And the realtor was also shocked. He's like, "Oh, they should have done that. Don't know why it's still there." And he just told them to kill time for a couple hours and that, they would get everything taken care of, get it cleared out by that evening. So when they came back later that night, they were impressed to see that the place had really been cleaned out. The realtor somehow had pulled it off, and so they could finally start moving their own stuff in. John decided to take a quick walk around the property first, and when he did, he was met with another shocking sight. The dry in-ground pool was filled with all of the shit from the house. So everything's just piled high inside this dry pool. And of course, John's like, "What the hell?" He calls up the realtor, and he asks if he had paid some junk removal service to come get the stuff. The realtor's like, "Well, I didn't actually hire anyone to move the stuff." And so he actually tried calling up the old property owners, because I guess the realtor went to the old property owner and be like, "You guys get it out of there." But weirdly, their numbers were out of service. I don't know. There's a lot of mystery there as to what happened with the stuff.
Surprisingly, this incident still never explained. After the pool incident, things were fine for those first 2 months, but until one day, John spotted a disheveled man walking up their driveway. He had this really long gray hair, wore these nasty, dirty clothes, and he was carrying a machete. John grabs his gun, tucks it into his waistband. He meets this man outside. His teeth are all in terrible shape. His eyes are this weird intensity. And the man told John that he lived on the property, and he pointed back to this old shed. He's like, "I've just been living in there this whole time." John, obviously super confused. He asked if the previous owners had somehow worked something out with this random guy to let him live in the shack. And maybe he was the guy who was dumping all the furniture into the pool.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Maybe it was that guy.
The man's response was pretty bone-chilling. He told John, "I killed the monsters." John's confusion quickly turned into impatience here. He said, "Look, man, I'm not sure if you had any arrangements with past owners, but I don't want you living on my property." And the crazy man just stared at him, and he simply replied, "You're gonna regret that." And just like that, he walked off into the sunset. Yeah. And John never saw him again.
After some time, the rescue horses on the property started to be targeted as well. And it was seemingly at random, and the same kind of silence in the night would happen. John would wake up the next morning having heard no commotion or anything to suggest foul play was going on, and would find one of the horses completely eviscerated on the property. he would find that there were surgical cuts and similar hallmarks to other cattle mutilations around the world that involve some kind of sinister force.
When John asked him about the ranch's reputation, the serviceman gave him this long-winded 90-minute history lesson.
wow.
And a man bought the property back in 1977. He built a house on it as a surprise for his wife. But of course, the wife didn't want the gift. In fact, on her very first visit, she said, "If you make me live here, I will divorce you." Sure enough, he did force her to live there, and they separated pretty soon after that. The property was then bought by an off-track betting company that allegedly ran a brothel on the property.
What a turn.
So the serviceman then tells John that this company was actually a right-wing extremist group that claimed responsibility for a train derailment in revenge for the Waco siege. And these extremists were allegedly killed in a shootout on the ranch by federal agents.
Wow.
So we got crazy man with machete, people who are clearly scared of the property. We have a brothel that's being run, and now we have there's some
betting company disguising itself as a brothel, but is actually a right-wing extremist group.
Yeah.
Who had a shootout with federal agents on the ranch. Wow.
How? No. Before this video, I never heard of Stardust Ranch. I only heard of Skinwalker Ranch. Let me know if you have heard of Stardust Ranch before this video. It kind of sounds like a name out of a sci-fi horror, or slash sci-fi slash horror film or series off of Tubi or something like that, or you know what I'm saying, something off TV, man. It's crazy because just the name Stardust Ranch, it doesn't seem like it's something that could be, you know what I'm saying, that could be like rival with Skinwalker Ranch. Sounds like kind of like a Fun Boy Ranch type name, you know what I'm saying, if you catch my drift. It don't seem like it's nothing scary about the name Stardust Ranch until you look deeper into the details and do your own research, man. Like I always tell y'all, do your own research and use your own discernment. Don't believe anything that you hear or see in these videos. Don't believe anything that I say in these videos. Let's go. Let's continue.
About 90 days into their stay there, John noticed he wasn't feeling like himself. His things would be randomly misplaced around the property, and without explanation, the electricity would just shut off. Minor things would stop working, only to magically repair themselves later on. The TV and radio would randomly turn on during the night, but then something terrible happened. One day, John went to feed his dogs, and he found the mutilated remains of his favorite Rottweiler outside its crate. John was shocked and devastated. He's a big dog lover. What's weird is that the dog looked as if it had been flattened by a steamroller. Just thinking about what that sight looks like is very disturbing.
I'm trying to protect myself mentally and just think about it like a Looney Tunes cartoon instead of the actual thing.
That's funny. But what was weird about the scene was that there was no blood or internal organs, according to John. And since he was outside its crate, that meant that someone must have taken him out of his crate before killing him. Despite all this, John didn't hear any of the other 7 dogs barking that night. Joyce and John didn't know what to make of it, but that incident changed everything for them. John was declaring war against whatever killed his dog and was messing with his ranch. But once he did, things only just got much worse.
Very interesting.
So supposedly a man, an alien with a samurai sword. Sounds wild. Let me explain, right? Have you ever heard of Stardust Ranch? Have you heard of Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah.
So think about that times 10. So Stardust Ranch is a ranch in Arizona. It's like 45 minutes away from Phoenix. And a man named John Edmonds and his wife Joyce moved into that crib in 1996. From the jump, it was already mad weird. Like they started seeing like orbs in the skies. And then every now and then they'll start seeing marks on their arms and their bodies. Like somebody was like cutting them. And then that's when one night 3 aliens, like the little gray aliens with the big eyes, he seen them and then they try to take his wife. So they say that every 72 hours a portal opens up on their property, but most of the time it happens in their living room. So one day he bought a samurai sword, like a katana, and he waited and he snuck one, his head off. He had like some type of on like the floor and it was on his blade. So he sent that to like a professor he known in like Michigan, and the guy said that this is like a breakthrough for like extraterrestrials because this is something that is not known to Earth, but it's like something from space. And before he's about to say something, he just unexpectedly died.
Dang. Man, let me know, do you believe that this guy John is seeing things like gray aliens, or do you think it's Cap, or you think he's seeing demons? Because me personally, I think these so-called aliens are demons. Or do you think he's really seeing some type of extraterrestrial? You know what I'm saying? Like Is he seeing these things for real, or is he just seeing things, like hallucinating, man? Like, I seen another clip, they said it was certain type of chemical in the water that, you know, even small traces of it that get in your system can make you kind of like hallucinate and see things that aren't really there, you know. But I don't know. Personally, I can't tell you what's real or fake in this video. I'm still trying to figure it out for myself right about now. But I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I do think these encounters probably can be real, because I don't want to make anybody seem like they're crazy, because sometimes, you know, we go through things in life, and you know, there are real entities out here. We aren't the only, you know, species or beings on this earth, is what I'm getting at. There are other, you know, entities or beings on this earth. Some people call them monsters, some people call them demons, some people call them, you never know. It's all kind of names for these creatures. They are not, I'm not saying they all the same, you know what I'm saying? All these different entities and creatures have different names. But it's crazy, man, the things that we see on this earth and around this, you know, this so-called planet, on this plane, that some others would say. But like I was saying, do you think it was real? Do you think he was really seeing aliens out here? Grays, alien grays? Let me know down below in the comment section.
Story of Stardust Ranch, Part 6. Although John never really got photographic proof of the aliens beyond a grisly photo of the aftermath of an attack with the samurai sword, there was one interesting piece of footage out there. You see, in 2016, John was interviewed by Carrie Cassidy of Project Camelot, and in the video, there's something strange that kind of peeks around a wall a couple times behind where John is sitting. Now, some believe this could be a gray ET, although it's impossible to tell for sure. That same year, Ghost Adventures did an episode on the ranch where they did seem to interact with something otherworldly there. And a lot of you have been like, well, why wouldn't they just move? Well, since 2014, the Edmonds had actually been trying to move from the ranch, and it was listed for sale around 1.5 million. After the Ghost Adventures episode aired, it shot up to 5 million. Nobody bit, so they took it off the market in 2018 and lived at the ranch for a few more years. And then, unfortunately, John Edmonds died in February 2022. In October 2022, however, the property finally was sold and then changed hands again as of mid-April 2023. While many think the Edmonds stories were a hoax, the property has a storied history, and some locals have even said they've seen strange things out near the ranch recently. So what do you think of the story of Stardust Ranch? Was it all a hoax, or was there something more to it? Let me know what you think in the comments.
Like I was saying, do you think he was really seeing a certain type of entities? Because he said he unalived some, you know, with a samurai sword, with a senzu sword, you know. Let me stop, I don't know what kind of sword it was, but like a samurai sword, that's what I do know, he said. It looked like, from what we seen in the footage, that it was some type of blood there or something, some type of bodily fluids. I don't know if it was actually blood from it or something else, but it was some type of evidence that he unalived something there. And I don't know. Let me know what you think down below, though, man. That's what I want to know. Do you think this was a real encounter, or was he just hallucinating?
Ranch. It's a one-of-a-kind piece of property that just went up for sale in Buckeye.
And its owner says whoever buys it will likely have a lot of unwelcome guests. Lauren Reimer went to check it out tonight.
We have 4 bedrooms in the house.
This seemingly peaceful Buckeye horse property was recently put on the market.
We have a 10-foot deep diving pool.
According to its owner, John Edmonds, Stardust Ranch also has one quality you won't find anywhere else.
Well, we have 2 alien portals. We have one in the front and one in the back.
And through those portals, he says they often get otherworldly visitors.
The grays, unfortunately, that we have run into in the house and on the property are anything but peaceful.
He says he has the scars to prove it.
I've killed 19 of them here on the property.
So after 20 years of defending his property from extraterrestrials,
They have large black bulbous eyes.
Edmonds and his wife say it's time to move.
It's going to go to somebody that understands the true nature of what's here.
The property is listed for $5 million. Its owner says it's going to take a special kind of buyer to take on the amenities that come with it.
In a way, we're offering a university. It's a place for teaching. It's a place for learning.
I'm Lauren Reimer for Arizona's Family.
The Man Who Fought Aliens with a Samurai Sword, Part 5. Beyond their dealings with constant assault from the Greys, John and Joyce Edmonds also dealt with a lot of other weird things on their ranch. In 2008, John first appeared on Coast to Coast AM to tell his story. One afternoon, shortly after the radio broadcast, a black SUV pulled up to the ranch and 2 Men in Black characters, wearing fedoras, exited the vehicle. He said that the two of them walked through the gate like nothing was there. They came right up to him, and one of them got about a foot away from his face and told him to stop talking about the ranch, and John was like, "Excuse me?" This MIB then robotically repeated the same exact sentence, and then they turned around, walked back to the gate, phased through it again, got in their vehicle, and drove off. Perhaps one of the stranger incidents was one evening John and Joyce were going out for Tex-Mex in Phoenix one evening. John was waiting in the living room, waiting for Joyce to finish getting ready, and then she came out in a red dress saying she's ready to go, and off they went. Now, they get to the restaurant and settle in. They're looking at the menu, ordering drinks and appetizers. Joyce then stands up and says she has to go to the restroom. And in the meantime, John decided to take his cell phone off his belt. It was on one of those old style clips, and it was getting a little bit uncomfortable against his leg. So the phone had been turned off, and in that moment, when he put it on the table, he decided to turn it on just in case there was an emergency or something. Immediately, the phone started buzzing with tons of missed calls and voicemails from his house. He checked the last voicemail, and it was Joyce, furious that he had left his house without her. So, if his wife was stuck at home, who did he come to the restaurant with? He then called home, and Joyce picked up demanding an explanation. He said there's something going on that he can't explain, and he's going to be home right away. And then he saw his not wife come out of the restroom, and it came back over and sat down across the table from him. It knew that he knew. John realized that he hadn't really looked directly into the face of this being, whatever it was, even though they carried a whole conversation on the drive into the city, and it completely fooled him. He thought it was his wife. But when he looked at its face, he noticed that its eyes were completely blacked out. John recoiled and got up immediately, left the restaurant, jumped into his Jeep, drove off without paying. And this kind of doppelganger situation apparently would happen several more times over the years to both Joyce and John, and was one of the stranger things they experienced on the ranch. Now, there's still more to the story, so if you want to hear more, leave a comment for part 6.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, man. Just, you know how they say, man, say it's true without saying it's true. I mean, whenever they mention MIB going to see him and all that extracurricular activity, man, they just confirmed it, man. This has to be a true story, a true incident, all that, a true altercation, all that, man, if they had to visit him, right? I mean, I would assume so, right? I mean, from what I'm getting out of it, that's what I'm thinking so far. Man, this is crazy.
This ranch might have been some sort of dimensional portal.
And the Greys are just part of it.
The poor Greys. Maybe they were coming to help.
Hey, Greys are evil, man.
Are they all evil?
They're
Is that
demons.
true?
There's like short Greys and then there's tall Greys. And then a lot of the lore talks about how there's like a pact between humans and the Greys. There was this whole exchange, like system that went on where we sent humans off to the Greys' home planet of Zeta Reticuli. And they sent some Greys back to us. And ever since we've had like this working partnership with them.
Like foreign exchange students?
Yeah. An interstellar exchange program.
Sign me up. I'm ready to go hang out with
fun,
the Greys.
Right? Yeah. And they're working with the elites and working with those in power to do all sorts of evil things to us and experiment on us. But there are also people that claim that they've been like healed by the Greys. I mean, one man even claims that he had children with a gray looking alien.
I always notice that about a lot of the abduction stories and stuff like that. They always turn roll really fast. All the aliens are like, "We need your seed."
Yeah.
why does this get so weird? Yeah.
An interview, and there was something weird behind you. What was that?
Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, who did the interview, she said, "John, there were 2 grays that were peering over your right shoulder." It's the first recorded interview in history that aliens actually appeared during the interview.
John and Joyce Edmonds have always wanted a Western-style ranch. The couple hoped to retire in a peaceful environment. John was once a therapist and Joyce, a recently retired FBI agent. On moving day, John and Joyce were shocked to find the former tenant's possessions left behind. Frustrated, the couple reached out to the real estate company and informed them that the previous tenants left behind their belongings.
Hi there, and welcome to the Richard Barron channel. Tonight, we'll be talking about Stardust Ranch and its mysterious past. But first, please remember to like and subscribe. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and enjoy the show. The
Home to mysterious and unique paranormal activity. With a history of sightings of UFOs and unearthly beings, Stardust Ranch has gained a reputation for being a one-of-a-kind destination for the adventurous. Located in Rainbow Valley, Arizona, and owned by the Edmonds family, Stardust Ranch has been the setting for many supernatural sightings.
According to its owner, John Edmonds, Stardust Ranch also has one quality you won't find anywhere else.
Well, we have 2 alien portals. We have one in the front and one in the back.
Frustrated, the couple reached out to the real estate company and informed them that the previous tenants left behind their belongings. They were assured that all of the belongings would be removed in just a few hours or so. Eventually, all the belongings were removed. The Edmonds went out to run a few errands, but once they returned back home, they noticed that the belongings were simply just tossed into the couple's pool. John, now beyond irritated, decided to call the Realtor hotline phone number, but was quickly told their ranch was sold as is. Once the Edmonds removed all the former tenants' belongings from their pool, John noticed a strange man carrying a large sword. John asked the stranger if he could help him find something. In return, the man claimed to have resided on the property. John said he and his wife were now the new owners of the ranch, and they did not have a need for an additional resident on the premises. The man respectfully accepted John's wishes, but he quickly responded to John and said,
You're going to live to regret this, and there are monsters on the property, and I killed them.
After a while, John noticed orbs of light drifting above the ranch. Glowing UFOs were visibly spotted, and shadow specters running from room to room inside the home. John attempted to overlook the unusual activity to a figment of his imagination, but as soon as their ranch, dogs started turning up disintegrated, he began to panic. John began to ponder how on earth was this happening to their animals, and how on earth was this conducted. Unfortunately, this was just the beginning. Missing body parts would begin to turn up on a regular routine. After a while, crazier figures started to manifest in their bedroom. The Edmonds began to experience visits from gray aliens. At first, the couple chalked it up as nightmares. Joyce first thought she had a dream about someone injecting an object into her forearm, but when she awakened that morning, she realized there was a scar left over from what she thought was a dream. The leftover mark was enough for John and Joyce to realize this was for real. After several days, John and Joyce heard their dogs barking, aggressively out by their kennel. John would go out to investigate in an effort to see what the fuss was all about.
Followed by orange orbs. That's when the uninvited guests arrived.
Literally gray aliens that attacked animals. They were in the house.
John recalls one unforgettable experience involving gray aliens attacking his wife.
actually levitated her out of the bed in the master chamber, out into the parking lot, and tried to draw her up into a craft.
He was astonished to find a deceased gray alien lying on the ground. It appeared the dogs had defended their territory and attacked the visitor to its death. The Edmonds agreed that the horrific nightmares they were having of the Greys were indeed true,
and believed the beings had sinister intentions. For John and Joyce, this meant war.
The couple already had an arsenal of guns, ammo, and an array of Japanese swords. John was met with success in keeping the beings away from their homestead. John believes the aliens were able to open portals from other unknown dimensions. John would battle these aliens for months at a time. Unexpectedly, one of the beings manifested before John's eyes. But he quickly attacked the creature. Appearing to have injured the invader, it vanished into thin air. To his followers on social media, John shared images of his bloody sword. John allegedly claims to have killed 18 entities, claiming, if you don't remove the head, the bodies will disappear or phone home. After growing amount of evidence, the Edmonds sought out scientific evidence to help prove that these attacks were real. They contacted a scientist who was a practicing physicist and a crop circle investigator, Dr. W. Levengood. Levengood was a peer-reviewed scientist and a ufologist by hobby. John allowed Levengood to run blood tests from the sword he had used to kill the gray aliens. Within the samples that he had tested, the doctor believed he had indisputable proof of extraterrestrial blood, due to elements of hemoglobin, which is found extraterrestrial objects. Levengood was excited to share this information with his colleagues and the scientific community. However, unfortunately for the Edmonds, Dr. Levengood died unexpectedly at the information from Levengood's research would end due to his passing, and with no apprentice to continue his findings. Many conspirators and ufologists contemplated Dr. Levengood's work and wondered if his conclusions were extraordinaire, which perhaps may have put his own life at risk. Although his family repudiated these claims and stated that his death was unrelated to his research. The Edmonds would attempt to have other specialists review their evidence. But unfortunately, nobody wanted to get tainted with such claims, and the ones who would agree demanded massive amounts of monetary compensation. John and Joyce decided to obtain other methods of evidence by ghost hunters and through other paranormal investigations, such as psychics and ufologists, with convincing photos, testimonies, and audio-video evidence. It consequently attracted more debunkers rather than producing a smoking gun for the existence of extraterrestrial dimensional beings. Unfortunately for the Edmonds, John would continue battling the beings for years to come. Why does the paranormal gravitate to Stardust Ranch? John believes that there are interdimensional portals on the ranch that the beings use to travel in and out of, kind of like a wormhole. If you're familiar with the northeastern Utah Skinwalker Ranch, you will find similarities between Stardust Ranch. Ironically, when the Edmonds listed the property for sale for approximately $2 million, it attracted an aerospace tycoon by the name of Robert Bigelow. Unfortunately, for John and Joyce, Mr. Bigelow would ultimately pass on the purchase of Stardust Ranch. Currently, the Edmonds have continued to fight off aliens and the paranormal, but feel that they are suffering from in their advancing age. As of now, the ranch allows brave visitors by appointment who dare to spend a night at the property. Stardust Ranch has now been relisted for $5 million. Well, what do you think? Would you book an appointment at Stardust Ranch? Or if by chance you had an extra $5 million lying around, would you perhaps be interested in investing in producing evidence of extraterrestrial, trans, dimensional beings? If so, let me know in the comments down below. Please remember, like or subscribe to our channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot.
I grabbed a sword and I killed all three of them.
Now, obviously, he's seen something real now, right? Because if you were paying attention during the clips, whenever he was doing the interview and it showed something popping from behind the wall while he was talking and giving the interview, it was clearly something there. It was clearly something visible there. And I mean, I don't think it was no person, no kid or nothing like that, because I don't even think they had kids or nothing like that at that time, if they even do. I mean, but it was clearly something there. They had it zoomed in slow-mo, you know, where you could tell like it was something there, and they had the MIB there, you know, and all the other, you know, the other incidents. Like, come on, man, it's something really going on at Stardust Ranch. And then to have Mr. Bigelow himself, one of the, you know, the big dogs in that UFO game type, you know what I'm saying, scenarios, you know, he's one of the guys that's prominent in that area, in that field of, you know, in that field of professionalism. Like, so it has to be something going on. And if I'm not correct, he's the guy that was over that owns Skinwalker Ranch at first, you know. But correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong about that. That is crazy.
You killed all three of the graves.
Stardust Ranch in Buckeye, Arizona is said to be infested with aliens and otherworldly occurrences. The previous owner sold it after he claimed he'd had enough of the odd experiences on the property. A woman who grew up in the home reached out to the local news stating that she never had any extraterrestrial experiences, but she sure had a lot of paranormal experiences. She said something lived in that house with them, and it would usually appear in her brother's room or in the hallway next to her brother's room. She said her family would see it in different forms and at random times in the hallway. One day when her uncle was visiting, he sprang out of his chair and yelled, "What the hell is that thing? Didn't you guys see it in the hallway?" Her family finally opened up about their experiences in the home. It isn't surprising that most of Buckeye's paranormal experiences take place on or around the road that Stardust Ranch sits on. The fields surrounding Stardust Ranch have also had several eyewitness paranormal encounters.
That's crazy. Stardust.
Hello, civilians of the world. This is part 3 of Stardust Ranch, aka Alien Ranch, or as I like to call it, the little brother of Area 51. John Edmonds' book is heavily about his experiences at the Alien Ranch. Things he writes about is his first experience there. Days John had started seeing these gray humanoid shapes in the tree lines of his property after his experience with the phone installer I talked about in the first video of this series. John felt like something was watching him in his room. He looked around and couldn't find anything. To quiet his mind, John grabbed a mini baseball bat that he had received on opening day. He slept with it next to him in bed. Later that night, John started to feel a cold, fleshy, bony hand sliding up his arm. John grabbed the bat and then popped up and was met face to face with a gray alien. He said he swung the bat and popped the alien in the head. John then saw 2 more gray humanoid aliens looking back at him. Suddenly, all 3 of them disappeared.
Dang. Not a coincidence.
You've got literally just the group, and maybe a director knows about it. Nobody else. It's completely classified. It's top secret. It's under lock and key. But I want to mention something. One of the bombshells that we dropped was that there's a declassified federal document. Anyone watching this interview can go find this document. It's on the FBI vault. Document 6751, it's a document from the 40s. It was written by a prominent member of academia, and it was submitted to the FBI. In this document, they make a case that entities are not space aliens, but that they're interdimensional or extra-dimensional entities that are crossing over from a plane known as the ethereal plane. Now, we know, as researchers of the New Age movement, we know that that is where the ascended masters are supposedly said to be on a high level. This ethereal plane is very popular. You know, when you talk to people who astral project, people who channel, people who remote view, people who want to tap in or go on a trip, an ayahuasca trip, a DMT trip.
Y'all, this is not a game. Don't fall for the boo-boo, man. These things out here could be real, and I ain't gonna say could be, these are real. They just not what you think they are. These are demonic beings. Allegedly, in my humble opinion. I'm just gonna say that, you know, because to you, they might be something else. They could really be something else. But in my opinion, like I say, they are demonic beings. So, y'all, You know, stay prayed up and stay vigilant. Keep your eyes open and protect your family at all times. Don't forget that, man. It's all a plot, a ploy, and a play. Don't forget that now. You know, if y'all like the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell on your way out. And especially if you're new to the channel or you've been watching the videos for a while and you ain't did none of that. You know what I'm saying? For real, it's okay. It's free. Comment, share. You know, y'all help get these videos out to people that need to see these. You know what I'm saying? To the mainstream. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people out here that need to see this information, man, and they obviously they not seeing this information because they not, you know, they not knowing this, you know. But it's your main man, MoneybaggCoo. I'm out. Holla. Y'all take it easy. Have a good weekend. Be safe, everybody.